No, it's number 13, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members, for the opportunity to present AB 1824. This legislation builds upon an existing law that was approved by the legislature in 2014, making it a crime for an individual or their dog to attack a guide, signal, or service animal while it is performing its duties. AB 1824 will remove the requirement that the dog be performing its duties at the time of being attacked for it to be a crime. Regardless of whether the dog is actively guiding its owner or patiently waiting while the owner sits and waits for the bus, the value and importance of the animal does not diminish. Additionally, current law allows dog owners to be compensated through the Victims' Compensation Fund for veterinary bills or the cost of replacing the dog. AB 1824 will also enable them to collect on medical expenses incurred and lost income resulting from time spent without the services of the dog. This legislation is important to ensure that members of the disabled community and the companions that they depend on are fully protected. Recent amendments came at the request of the State Board of Guide Dogs for the Blind, and I am pleased to say that the bill now carries their support. I will now turn it over to the bill sponsors representing the California Council for the Blind.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, Jeff Tom, President, California Council of the Blind. I will, excuse me, rather than reiterate the content of the provisions, I will merely give you some examples of why they are important. First, with respect to the provision that eliminates the requirement that the guide, signal, or service dog be in discharge of its duties. There are a variety of instances in which the dog can be and is being, dogs are being attacked when not in discharge of its duties. For example, the dog could be, laying in the workplace and sometimes get attacked. Sometimes they are outside. The dog could be being relieved by its owner, or as often happens, it could be on its own property and attacked in those instances. I could go on, but there are many, many instances. We've had one individual that we learned about who lives in the Sacramento area whose dog has been attacked when its harness has been off a total of 4 times. So these instances are far from rare. Turning to the other provision with respect to including both loss of income and medical expenses of the guide dog handler, there are a variety of instances where the injury to the dog can be so severe that it means the dog must be either retired and then replaced completely, or it means the individual cannot use their dog for extended periods of time. In either case, there can be a serious loss of income because the person cannot go to work during the time it has to replace the dog, or it needs to wait for the dog to heal from its injuries. With respect to medical provisions, there are many instances in which the attack occurs with respect to both the handler and the dog, and the guide dog handler suffers severe injuries which lead to the incurring of medical expenses. Thank you very much, and we urge your support of the bill.
Thank you. Others in support of the bill?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is Brian Skewis with the State Board of Guide Dogs for the Blind. I'd like to mirror our concerns and especially the amendments in 600.5, which we're particularly in support of. The bill will, these changes would allow law enforcement the ability to utilize the provision in a way that serves the public and protects the handler in a good way. The language does not lower the threshold to the negligence standard and still requires serious misconduct before prosecution is permissible. The board's in support of this bill, and we urge your aye vote.
Thank you very much. Are there others in support? Are there speakers in opposition to the bill? You have to make room at the table, please. Yeah, thank you.
Good Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members. Micah Doctoroff on behalf of the ACLU of California, here in respectful opposition only to one component of the bill. We've only opposed the bill based on the recent amendments that changed the mens rea standard from a standard of intentionally to willful, knowingly, or recklessly. The substance of our opposition is really just with that, and we believe that the existing mental state required to convict somebody of this crime is the appropriate one, and we would ask that the existing mens rea standard be restored. So that is really our concern with the bill. The remaining substance we've not opposed.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there questions or comments from members of the committee? Senator Monning.
Thank you. For the author and then maybe for the witness, so the mens rea was changed from intentional to the willful and knowingly. Can I ask the author why that change was made?
Right, this came at the request of the State Board of Guide Dogs for the Blind, and I'm sure he can address this.
Yeah, the change came from multiple instances where we were made aware that law enforcement was unwilling to prosecute a case due to the ability to prove intent, and the example used in the ACLU's letter of opposition doesn't necessarily I think apply, because there are instances where a person could be willfully or recklessly operating a motor vehicle, and does that devalue the value of the animal, and we think not.
Thank you. And then through the chair, I think ACLU made your case, but if you have anything to add.
Yeah, we would respectfully disagree, and in this instance, recklessly is certainly a much lower standard than intentionally or willfully, and while we're not certainly condoning reckless driving or recklessly administering a vehicle and hitting a dog, we believe that for purposes of this crime, the mens rea standard should be higher.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The bill has been moved, and I will be supporting the bill today. I appreciate the ACLU's concerns. I do also appreciate the devastating impact that losing a guide dog could have on a person's life who relies on that animal, not only for probably mobility, but for a number of other things. So the bill has been moved. Would you like to close?
I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Hancock?
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Anderson? Aye. Anderson, aye. Glazer? Leno? Liu? Monning? Aye. Monning, aye. Stone? Stone, aye.
Okay, the bill has enough votes to pass. We'll hold the roll open for the absent members. Thank you. Assembly Member Santiago. Item number 30, I believe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to thank the committee and the chair for working closely with us on the language to help improve it. AB 2361 will clarify that independent nonprofit institutions of higher learning can utilize reserve officers. In California, unlike its counterparts at the UC or CSU, security officers at independent nonprofit institutions like USC are not classified as peace officers, therefore lacking equivalent powers. AB 2361 will clarify that independent nonprofit institutions of higher learning can utilize reserve officers under specific conditions, including the requirement that officers meet training standards of the school, and an MOU with law enforcement is in place. This measure would improve campus safety. With me, I have a witness, former colleague of ours, Martha Scudia from USC, and Chief Thomas, also from USC.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and members. My name is Martha Scudia, and I am Vice President for Government Relations at USC. I think one of the things that you'll notice in your committee analysis that the support for the bill also includes UCLA, which is one of the few times in which both universities actually agree on something. Obviously, it is very sad what happened at UCLA, but if anything, that proves the reason why we need this bill, and that is that even private nonprofit universities need to have access to the same resources in order to provide safety for its students. With me, I have Chief John Thomas, who is our Chief of Public Safety at USC.
Well, thank you. And again, the urgency of this is that, all we're asking for is just basically the ability to protect the students at universities such as USC, private institutions, at the same level that those that attend the Cal States, the UCs, and even the K through 12s. So I strongly urge your support.
Okay.
John Lovell, on behalf of the California College and University Police Chiefs Association, we are co-sponsors of this measure. What this measure is about is assuring that there's an equal quality of safety protection on campuses. And let me just give you one quick example. I know time is short. Sexual assaults take place disproportionately in a college environment. That's just a reality. Second sad reality is that 80% of the time, the perpetrator is known to the victim. One of the tools that we are able to use on public campuses is that college and university police agencies can use pretext calls, where you get the victim to call the perpetrator, and you can elicit a whole host of admissions, case closed and over. That same tool is not available today on a campus like USC. This is a good sense bill. We strongly support it. It will bring an equal quality of protection to students, irrespective of the campus on which they're in school.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Committee, Ralph Brown, Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training, and we're in support of the bill as it's currently amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Senator Anderson has a question.
What is it unusual for a university to contract out to like the sheriffs or local police department? How does that work? I'm trying to understand.
It is atypical. Most of the universities and colleges in the state of California, they have their own departments. There are some that contract out. One of the issues with that is they don't have the familiarity with that university, its culture, and the students, the rapport with the students and the surrounding community. You get an individual who may be there for 1 week, 1 day, 1 month, but you don't have the consistency that's necessary to effectively provide the security for a university culture and a campus.
Thank you.
Okay, Senator Money.
Thank you.
Excuse me, is there any opposition to the bill? We do have some listed. If no opposition to the bill, okay.
I did have a question at the appropriate time.
Senator Monning had a question.
Thank you.
So,
So I want to thank the author and the supporters for bringing this forward. My understanding, just so I'm clear on the amendment, this doesn't involve contracting out. It involves allowing local law enforcement to deputize existing campus officers, which will allow them to perform a full range of duties. And if I understand correctly, they're not confined to the campus property. They can also protect public safety within a certain range of the campus. Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, they're limited to what the surrounding perimeter is. And it's my understanding they would be reserve and they would be hired by USC in this particular case. It would not be contracted out.
Right, so they would be employees of USC, but reserve officers with LAPD?
Yes, with the municipality, and those geographic borders would be defined by the municipal police. In our case, that would be LAPD.
If there's a hot pursuit, can they leave the campus if they're in hot pursuit of a suspect, or do they have to hand it over to?
Within the geographic boundaries, because we have such a great relationship with LAPD, the reality is they would probably be there and pick up the pursuit. We're not interested in a pursuit policy.
Yeah, good. I was just curious. Thank you very much.
thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the amendment. There were a number of problems with the bill as it was originally presented. If there are no other questions, I believe the bill has been moved by Senator Glazer. Please call the roll.
Hancock.
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Anderson. Glazer. Aye. Glazer, aye. Leno. Lou. Monning. Aye. Monning, aye. Stone. Stone, aye.
Okay, thank you very much. I would just add, after the fact here, the statement was made that most sexual assaults occur on college campuses.
They take place disproportionately on college campuses.
Maybe you could give us the data. That's what I was going to ask.
Oh, sure.
for.
I can get you that.
Thank
yeah.
you very much.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. Next, we have Assemblymember Cooper, who has 3 bills. Items 1, item 11, and item 20. Welcome to the committee.
Which bill would you like to hear first, Madam Chair?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll start with AB 2245, non-roster handguns. Madam Chair and members, AB 2245 will allow probation departments to purchase, train, and carry handguns with the same capabilities as their law enforcement counterparts. Historically, probation departments have been able to purchase handguns with the same features as police and sheriff's department. Recently, some firearms retailers have excluded, selling to probation departments these type of firearms because they are not explicitly identified as eligible purchasers. Probation officers train and serve alongside police officers and sheriff deputies on task forces carrying out the same duties. From my personal experience on task forces, I can tell you it is imperative for every task force member to have the same type of function of firearms, capability on the range, and in the general course of their duties. I've taken amendments from the committee that will require probation officers to provide documentation of the completion of the firearms training before purchase. I respectfully ask for your aye vote. With me are Karen Pank, CPOC Executive Director, and John King, Chief Probation Officer, San Mateo.
Thank you. I believe there were amendments not only about taking the training, but also transfer.
That's correct.
Prohibition of transfer.
Yes, and we accept those amendments.
Good, thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members. Danielle Sanchez on behalf of the Chief Probation Officers of California. Here's the sponsor today. I want to thank the Assembly member for carrying this and for working so closely with us on this. The focus of this bill really is on the restoration of a practice that had been the case for peace officers, including probation, to be able to purchase non-roster firearms. The focus for the Chief Probation Officers relative to this bill is really to ensure that our departments are able to purchase, train, and use these firearms. The transferability language that the author is going to be taking, I think, is an important one and one that we certainly support. Today with me is John Keene, Chief Probation Officer of San Mateo County. I would note that San Mateo County is one of the 2 counties that we are aware of at this time that has actually had their departmental purchases denied and therefore has kind of had a direct impact. And so I will turn it over to the Chief for his comments.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members. My name is John Keene. I'm the Chief Probation Officer of San Mateo County Probation Department. I am pleased to be here today, and I want to thank Assemblyman Cooper for carrying this important measure forward. Currently, law authorizes peace officers to purchase and use non-roster firearms for official duties. However, the code section does not expressly note probation departments as peace officers who are authorized to purchase these firearms. This historically has not presented an issue to probation departments, as we have been able to purchase the necessary firearm models needed for our on-duty responsibilities as peace officers. However, recently my department, as well as Marin County Probation Department, has had purchases denied using and noting the existing penal code section. This bill restores the ability for probation departments to purchase firearms, as has been historically the case, for the purposes of departmental use and training. It also clarifies and applies to probation officers who have completed the required post-PC 832 training requirement. I can speak for myself and all chiefs to know that training is an essential part of this, and so we understand and certainly applaud making this requirement necessary. With that, we respectfully want to thank you for your consideration today and request that you support AB 2245.
Thank you. Others in support?
LA County Probation Officers Union, AFSCME Local 685, in support. Riverside Sheriff's Association, also in support.
Thank you.
Randy Perry with PORAC in support.
Lauren Michaels with the California Police Chiefs Association in support.
Alberto Tarico on behalf of the State Coalition of Probation Organizations in support as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there speakers in opposition to the bill? Yes, please make room for them at the table.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Ari Freilich. On behalf of the Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence, I'm here to regrettably voice our opposition to this bill, though we do want to thank the author and the committee members and staff for their work to offer amendments and approve this legislation. I have 2 points to offer in your consideration of this bill. First, our state's Unsafe Handgun Act has been a remarkable policy success and must be protected. Since the Act's enactment in 1999, the rate of accidental shooting deaths in California has fallen by more than 50%, according to CDC data. This was not inevitable or a happy coincidence. California, due to smart public policy, California's rate of accidental firearm deaths is now just 1/3 the national average. These life-saving results came too late for many of the families we work with and represent who lost loved ones to preventable firearm accidents and remain deeply committed to keeping unregulated, unsafe firearms out of our state. Their determination persists in the context of the firearm manufacturers' cynical, decades-long effort to undermine and weaken the Act's minimal product safety standards to market cheap junk guns to members of our state. The source of our opposition to this legislation is that it does more than allow probation departments to purchase unsafe handguns for departmental use. It does much more than allow probation officers to carry these uncertified handguns on duty. This legislation will allow probation department employees in their personal life to purchase, carry in public, keep in homes with children, and repeatedly sell for profit handguns that could not pass a basic firing or drop safety test and that do not utilize a common safety mechanism like a chamber load indicator to prevent accidental firings. This legislation is substantially narrower and therefore less problematic than AB 2165, but we see no reason to permanently expand the availability of unsafe handguns for off-duty personal use and resale in California. We regrettably urge a no vote.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the Senate Public Safety Committee. My name is Dean Calhoun, and I'm the founder of Youth Alive, an organization that works with young people in Oakland and Los Angeles to be civic leaders in promoting responsible gun legislation. They were very involved in the passage of the assault gun ban, the strongest assault gun ban in the country, and also in banning residential dealers. California is known for strong gun legislation that's effective and that saves lives. And I feel that this bill goes in the opposite direction. And in support of the young people I work with who would be put at risk from this bill because of the number of guns that are stolen and lost from law enforcement. In a recent survey, 500 weapons were missing from 8 law enforcement departments in the Bay Area. 2 murders were recently committed with off-roster handguns. Gun manufacturers promote their weapons that are off-roster to law enforcement, and I say very strongly that law enforcement has plenty of safer guns that don't have short trigger pulls, that don't have the problem of no prominent loaded safety indication, that do have an external manual safety that for use by the officers, these guns that are on the roster put the officers less at risk, put their suspect less at risk, accidental bystanders, and would have prevented the 2 shootings of the 2 murders, one on the San Francisco Pier and the other of the muralist who was painting a peace picture and was shot by a gun that was off roster that had been stolen from a peace officer. So I urge your vote no on this bill and on Bonta's AB 2165. Thank you.
My name is Griffin Dix. I'm here because I helped pass the Unsafe Handgun Act in 1999 and the SB 489 in 2003 with Senator Jack Scott. He and I both lost a son in an unintentional shooting, two guns that had no chamber-loaded indicator. And I want to add to the things that have been said that how unsafe the guns, off-roster handguns are. One reason that the gun industry went to Congress to get immunity from civil lawsuits is that over 60 lawsuits were brought against Glock, for example, for many injuries due to unsafe handgun design. So the gun industry won immunity from civil lawsuits, but cities and police departments have no such immunity. There will be serious liability problems if more and more government employees start using unsafe handguns with this bill and with Assemblyman Bonta's bill 2165. With this bill, deaths from unsafe handguns will increase, so will lawsuits. Government employees have many safer handguns that are certified for sale in California, and we would like them and their families, the government employees and their families to be safe and the public to be safe. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Amanda Wilcox on behalf of the 27 chapters, California chapters of the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence. We have a opposed letter into this bill, for this bill, though I'm very pleased to learn of the amendments today regarding the private party transfer as well as the training requirements, and those greatly improve the bill. I will take it back to my executive committee, what our position is, but nonetheless, I still have to express my bewilderment, I guess I would say, that why there would be a resistance to having guns that are safer. And I would think law enforcement, as well as the general public, benefits from a chamber load indicator, magazine disconnect, and of course the microstamping requirement, which at the time was passed, was supported by 65 police chiefs and sheriffs. We're very interested in moving new models with these features into the California market, and to the extent that we continue to give exemptions or we add more exemptions, that defeats the purpose of these policies that this body saw the benefit of in past years. So thank you for the amendments. We still have concerns, but we will study the bill again.
Thinking that I would support this bill because of the transfer and the training amendments that were taken. Just noting that existing law enforcement can transfer their guns to anybody they want. So saying that you can't do private party transfer in this case, I think is a step forward. But I am interested in just knowing more about why law enforcement would want off-duty or off-roster weapons.
Well, I think critical, Madam Chair, and that's a great question to ask. Probation and parole, and probation in this case, they work with law enforcement. A lot of these folks, for your local jurisdictions, they're on task forces, be it drug task forces or gang task forces. They work alongside law enforcement officers, deputy sheriffs, and police officers on many task forces. I work these task forces as a member, and as a commander, I ran these task forces. And they go through the same firearms training that we do. And with AB 109, they're checking on folks that are out to making sure that they're complying with the conditions of their probation on a daily basis. And what's ironic is these agencies, law enforcement agencies and probation departments, buy non-roster handguns right now. They have. And San Mateo was not allowed to buy that. And what's really troublesome is our own sergeants at arms here, they carry Glocks. Those are time-tested weapons. So our own sergeants have been through there. We have range masters here. It is a very effective handgun. And people are talking about drop test. And I spent 30 years in law enforcement, and I appreciate the opponents' views, but they really aren't informed what goes on with these guns. These are very safe guns. They do comply with the drop test. When some of these shootings have happened, it's because people are handling their weapons unsafe. And that's really the bottom line what happens. And in some departments, departments issue handguns, most departments, not all, but sometimes they issue old, antiquated guns, so officers buy guns to use on duty themselves. When I first joined the sheriff's department, we had revolvers. We were allowed to buy our own handguns, so I bought a semi-automatic handgun to have newer technology. Also, with our long rifles in the sheriff's department were military surplus. We're talking 30 years old, so some individuals bought updated rifles that were much better rifles to be used out there. So it's one of those things where it's not for off-duty, it's for duty purposes, and the reason they have that is to make sure they can do their job and do it properly. And I would say furthermore, if you're in a situation where a shooting happens and you have to use somebody else's weapon or someone yours becomes disabled, these firearms are similar, so we're all carrying the same type of handgun. And that's what we're talking about here, where someone can pick it up, a probation officer or a deputy or a police officer, and still use that handgun. So
what I don't get is why handguns that are on the safety roster aren't good enough. And I gather what you want is Glocks, right? And why are Glocks not on the safety roster?
That's kind of I wouldn't say a safety roster, that's a technical term that those guns are not any more safer. And just like, these guns are very safe, they're tested. And one thing for our guns, I'll be honest with you, our sergeants here, the guns they carry don't have safeties. And most law enforcement agencies do not have safeties on their weapons because when you have to pull your weapon and you may get into a gunfight, it's a matter of seconds. So the vast majority of law enforcement handguns do not have safeties. I never carried a handgun with a safety because it takes seconds. So if you look in California, most agencies, they don't have safeties. While we coin the term non-roster, they are very safe handguns that we do use with that. So I would say, like I said, the majority of folks carrying guns in California and across the country do not have safeties on them because they're trained, they go out, they shoot 4 or 5 times a year, sometimes even more, where your average citizen that's having a gun doesn't shoot it very often, hasn't handled it. And quite often, we actually don't put our fingers in the trigger unless we're going to shoot. Most of the time, our finger is outside that trigger guard and never on the trigger. And a lot of these accidental shootings have happened with that. And then I want to address the 2 shootings with the stolen handguns. There are a lot of stolen handguns that happen, and there have been many, many murders, and I would say thousands of more murders with handguns stolen from homeowners than the 2 from law enforcement they mentioned. So when you mention those 2, that's 2 too many, but the vast majority do come from folks out of their home.
Well, let me ask this. Do the rules, I believe that this legislature has enacted some new rules since those 2 incidents where handguns were stolen from an officer's car and then used to harm someone. Are there going to be rules requiring the handguns to be locked in the trunk? Are those included in this bill?
Madam Chair, that is common sense, and most people, I'll be honest.
Well, it may be, but there were 2 police officers at least that didn't do it, and somebody ended up dead.
And you're right, but most folks, and I'll let the chief address it in a minute, but most folks don't, when they're out of their car, their gun actually goes with them. But once in a while, you have people that just don't think that clearly and do dumb things, but that's in the minority versus majority.
And I would add, Madam Chair, that the reality is that actually probation officers and probation departments actually hold themselves even to a more stringent standard around training, around the actual use of our equipment in a safe manner. In response to the recent thefts that have happened in many vehicles, Many of our probation partners, including mine, have actually issued log boxes for individual vehicles. We also issue log boxes for individuals' homes to make sure that they actually are utilizing this equipment in a safe manner. We ensure that every person who actually has a firearm that's issued by our department has a state-required gun lock with that actual firearm. So we're taking safety requirements above and beyond currently what's required. And just to add to Assemblyman Cooper's point about the need for compatibility, as was mentioned earlier, our probation officers are working side by side with every task force that there is out there. This is really to fix a technicality. We're not asking for anything more than what we previously were allowed to do. In a few critical moments when a person is in need of some support and maybe my firearm is no longer working and I reach for a coworker or a firearm of a police officer or a deputy sheriff who I've trained with, who are utilizing the same equipment, those seconds can be critical for not only the saving of lives for the officers, but also equally important and more importantly, saving of civilians. So this is an issue where we want to be very clear that we're not asking for anything other than what was already in place. So we're not asking for any additional ability to purchase anything that we were not able to purchase before.
I would also say if you Google real quick.
Well, then why do we need this bill if you have it already?
Because the gun manufacturers in the state will not sell to them because in California it's off roster.
Exactly.
So they want an individual. You're saying the department buys them, but
Yes.
you're trying to make it available to individuals.
No, ma'am. What we're actually trying to do is make it available for our department to purchase specifically for departmental use and training. So as it stands now, we're unable to do so.
And those departments, because handguns are very expensive and they have a life cycle, so those departments that can't afford to replace their handguns, they will allow individual officers to go out and buy their own handguns to use that. And I also would say, if you Google Glock real quick, and you see the FBI and a number of federal agencies, both state, local, and federal, and city and county, that use that type of handgun that is non-roster, the vast majority, and is a very safe handgun in the correct hands.
May I add two things?
Yeah.
Your departments may be different, but I've talked to a bunch of police chiefs, and I know that most police departments allow their officers to choose from several different guns that are not necessarily compatible. And the second thing is, I know I've recently talked to an investigative reporter who's about to come out with an article showing that almost 1,000 law enforcement guns have been lost or stolen by Bay Area police departments, law enforcement departments in the last 5 or 6 years. So if more unsafe guns are used, more unsafe guns will get out into the hands of citizens.
And I think people do break in houses, no matter if you're law enforcement or John Q. citizen, they do break in and steal guns amongst other items. So that's not surprising that that happens on a regular basis to any citizen that owns a home or any type of residence.
Well, I'm thinking that I really would appreciate it if the author was interested in taking an additional amendment, which would say that essentially the Hall bill by Senator Hall, which is moving through Senator Hill, which has to do with the safe placement of handguns in the trunk of the car when the officer isn't there, should apply to this as well. And because I do share the concern of off-roster guns being used, and again, your department may have exemplary rules, but we need them statewide, I think.
I would be more than happy to take your amendments. I do know that the Sacramento Sheriff's Department provides, they have gun lockers that you lock in the trunk of your car. You can unlock it with either your fingerprint or a keypad or a key. The only thing I don't know if we mandate that they have those gun boxes. I think those are about $400 or $500 a piece. So that may be problematic. I don't know. I'm willing to take that or make sure they lock the, maybe we can put in the bill that it's in the secured area in the vehicle or will not be left in vehicles. So I'm willing to do that, to work with you on that, Madam Chair.
Well, I would like to do that, I think, because I'm concerned about the proliferation of guns and the more and more people that want them and they want them off duty and the whole business of transferring them, which has been very problematic.
How about this, Madam Chair? What if we get best practices to secure those guns and adopt that in the policy with that?
Like the Sacramento probation departments?
Well, in some departments say you will not leave a firearm in a vehicle. It states that in their general orders. And I believe most departments do that. It's not to be left. And those officers that do, if it gets stolen, they're disciplined behind that. But most have policies you will not leave it when your vehicle's unoccupied or not on duty. And I would also add, the majority of officers do not have cars that they take home. Majority of officers have cars that they use it to work, a patrol car, that car's left at work. So a lot of these instances will be in their home vehicles, but there are a lot of policies that dictate that.
Okay. Staff has just told me that the Hill bill actually has no opposition at this point.
But what, does it mandate, or I'm not sure, Madam Chair? Because it could be,
We don't think that it is.
Yeah, so I would say best practices versus mandating them to have a locked gun box or secure it in the trunk. I think there's language we can do that, and I'm following you with that. Or we can put something in there with the best practices.
Okay, I would like to do that, so if we could hold this over till next week, let's work on the language.
I will take your amendments right now.
How many bills are at?
Okay, staff will do the amendments with you. Do you want to step out for a minute and do them? We can do them after. Okay, so we'll call out the amendments that are in 618. Okay, describe now.
And I should turn on mic. Don't usually talk. So these amendments would be consistent with Senate Bill 869 by Senator Hill, which would basically require that when leaving a handgun in an unattended vehicle, that the handgun be locked in the trunk or in a locked container, a violation of which would be an infraction. So it would just be consistent with that bill.
I would be more than happy to take that, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank the witnesses that pointed out the difficulties, too. So with that, would there be a motion to do pass as amended? Thank you very much, Senator Glazer. Senator Stone.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I appreciate, Senator Cooper, you're bringing this forward.
Yeah.
Our Chief Probation Officer in Riverside County, Mark Hake, who I'm sure you know is an exemplary probation officer, and firearm safety is of the highest priority, certainly in our county. And they recently were a part of a multidisciplinary team doing a gang injunction, and then, as I mentioned earlier, in the city of Desert Hot Springs that netted 30 weapons and 2 rockets. They're an integral part of the public safety team, and they deserve to have the kind of weaponry that they may face. And you're absolutely right. You cannot have guns that have delays, such as safeties, when they're pulling that gun and they need to use it not only for the safety of the officer, but for the safety of the citizen that they're trying to protect. A delay could be the difference between somebody living and somebody dying. So those delays would be very troubling. So as amended, I'm happy to support the bill.
Thank you. The bill's been moved by Senator Glazer. Would you like to close?
Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Hancock.
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Anderson.
Aye.
Anderson, aye. Glazer. Aye. Glazer, aye. Leno. Liu. Monning. Stone.
Aye.
Thank
Stone,
you.
aye.
That bill has enough votes to pass. We'll hold the roll over
Thank you.
for the absent members.
Thank you very much.
Now, I believe you have item number 11, AB 1798, if we're going backwards in time.
Yes, yes, yes.
Backwards on the file.
Which one is it? So 1798.